Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769, in Ajaccio, Corsica, just months after France acquired the island from the Republic of Genoa. His family was of minor Italian nobility but not wealthy. His father, Carlo Bonaparte, was a lawyer and political figure, while his mother, Letizia, was known for her discipline and strength, qualities Napoleon admired and inherited. As a child, he was intelligent, but proud, and often defensive about his Corsican heritage. At 9, he was sent to France for schooling, and later enrolled at the Royal Military Academy of Brienne. He excelled in mathematics, geography, and history, and though he struggled socially, he showed an early interest in leadership and military theory. His years as an outsider in France helped shape his fierce drive to succeed and his lifelong belief in merit over birthright, a philosophy that would define both his rise and his rule. Napoleon completed his training at the École Militaire in Paris, becoming a second lieutenant in the artillery at just 16. He was one of the youngest graduates in his class. The study of mathematics and logistics suited him perfectly. He saw warfare as a science guided by calculation and speed. When the French Revolution began in 1789, it shattered the old aristocratic order and created a rare opportunity for talent to rise through merit rather than noble birth. Napoleon, who supported the revolution's promise of equality and reform, advanced quickly. He served in Corsica and later in mainland France, earning recognition for his organizational skill and sharp intellect. Although he faced political uncertainty and poverty during these early years, his determination never wavered. By his mid-20s, Napoleon had already developed the strategic thinking and personal confidence that would propel him from a provincial officer to a national leader. In 1793, the port city of Toulon rose against the French Republic and welcomed the British Navy. Napoleon, then a young artillery captain, was assigned to retake the city. He studied the terrain, repositioned artillery batteries, and directed fire that forced the British to evacuate. His plan succeeded where others had failed, and Toulon was recaptured. At only 24 years old, he was promoted to brigadier general. The victory transformed him from an unknown officer into a rising star of the revolution. Politicians in Paris took notice of his tactical brilliance and his relentless ambition. Toulon also revealed his signature traits, his ability to act decisively, his command under pressure, and his belief that boldness could change the course of history. Though still young, Napoleon had shown that he was more than a soldier. He was a commander capable of shaping events on a national scale. At age 26, Napoleon was given command of the French army of Italy, a demoralized and poorly supplied force. Through charisma and strict discipline, he transformed them into one of the most effective armies in Europe. Over the course of the campaign, he defeated the Austrians and their allies in a series of remarkable victories, including Lodi, Arcole, and Rivoli. His rapid movements and creative tactics allowed him to outmaneuver larger armies again and again. Beyond the battlefield, Napoleon displayed political skill, negotiating treaties, reorganizing conquered territories, and spreading revolutionary ideals of equality and meritocracy. By 1797, France had expanded its influence across northern Italy, and Napoleon had become a national hero. The campaign revealed his genius for combining military speed, psychological insight, and administrative reform, traits that would define his leadership during the next 2 decades. In 1798, Napoleon led an ambitious expedition to Egypt, intending to disrupt Britain's trade with India and establish French power in the East. He achieved a dramatic victory at the Battle of the Pyramids, defeating the Mamluk forces, but his fleet was soon destroyed by Admiral Horatio Nelson at the Battle of the Nile. Cut off from France, Napoleon founded the Institute of Egypt, bringing scientists, engineers, and scholars who made lasting discoveries, including the Rosetta Stone which would later unlock the mystery of Egyptian hieroglyphs. Though the campaign ended in military and political failure, it enhanced his reputation as both a man of war and intellect. When France faced crisis in 1799, he secretly returned home, leaving his army behind. Within months, he would seize control of the government, proving once again his ability to turn defeat into opportunity. By late 1799, France was unstable, exhausted by revolution and war. Seeing his chance, Napoleon executed a coup d'état known as the 18th of Brumaire, overthrowing the Directory and establishing himself as first consul. In the years that followed, he restructured government, stabilized finances, and reformed the legal system through the Napoleonic Code, a set of civil laws that emphasized equality before the law, secular authority, and property rights. He also rebuilt education and established the Bank of France, restoring public confidence. Napoleon's leadership combined ambition with efficiency, and his popularity soared. In 1804, he crowned himself emperor at Notre Dame Cathedral, signaling that his authority came not from tradition, but from achievement and the consent of the French people. The revolution's ideals of merit, order, and national unity found their most powerful expression in his rule. From 1805 to 1812, Napoleon built the largest European empire since ancient Rome. His victories at Austerlitz, Jena, and Wagram reshaped the map of Europe. France became the dominant power, with allied kingdoms and client states stretching from Spain to Poland. He spread reforms, abolishing feudal privileges, promoting education, and modernizing administration. Yet his ambition also created resistance. Britain remained defiant, and his continental system, an attempt to blockade British trade, caused economic strain across Europe. The Peninsular War in Spain turned into a costly struggle that drained resources. Still, Napoleon remained undefeated on land and believed his destiny was to unite Europe under French leadership. By 1812, however, his empire had reached its limits. The next campaign, intended to secure his dominance, would instead begin his downfall. In June 1812, Napoleon launched an invasion of Russia with more than 600,000 soldiers, the largest army Europe had ever seen. His goal was to force Tsar Alexander I to rejoin France's alliance. The Russians retreated deep into their territory, using scorched earth tactics to deny his army food and shelter. After a costly victory at Borodino, Napoleon entered Moscow, only to find the city deserted and set ablaze. Winter soon arrived, and with supplies exhausted, disease and starvation decimated his forces. The retreat from Russia became a disaster. Only about 100,000 soldiers made it back to friendly territory. The campaign shattered the Grande Armée and Napoleon's aura of invincibility. Across Europe, his enemies seized the moment to unite once again, marking the beginning of the end for his once unbreakable empire. After years of war, the coalition forces invaded France in 1814. Napoleon, outnumbered and exhausted, abdicated the throne and was exiled to the island of Elba, off the Italian coast. There he retained the title of emperor and began planning his return. In February 1815, he escaped and landed in France with a small force. As he marched toward Paris, soldiers sent to arrest him instead joined him, cheering his name. For 100 days, Napoleon ruled again, promising reform and peace. But Europe's powers united swiftly. On June 18, 1815, at the Battle of Waterloo, his army was decisively defeated by British and Prussian forces. Captured once more, Napoleon was sent far away, to the island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, a lonely exile that marked the final chapter of his extraordinary career. Napoleon spent his last years on St. Helena, confined by the British under harsh conditions. He lived in Longwood House, surrounded by a small group of loyal followers. Despite illness and isolation, he dictated his memoirs reflecting on his life, his campaigns, and his vision for Europe. He died on May 5, 1821, at the age of 51, likely from stomach cancer. In 1840, his remains were returned to France and placed in a grand tomb at Les Invalides in Paris. Napoleon's legacy endures in the legal, administrative, and social reforms he introduced, particularly the Napoleonic Code, which influenced laws across the world. He is remembered as both a conqueror and a reformer, a man whose ambition reshaped nations and whose complex legacy continues to define the history of modern Europe.